Welcome back to Inside the Game. This guy, Nate, turned his mic off.
Oh no! Again. You know what? That's just gonna become a theme. We're gonna put a compilation together at some point of I'll go back and create a YouTube comp of all the times I did that, because I think we're up to about 6 or 7 at this point. So a little face palm to begin the show, but welcome back for 244 here on this Friday.
Great.
So get
No,
ready to
like, I don't
roll
think
for
you realize,
for
like,
the
it's a
weekend.
slight panic in here because I feel like so this station every single day is like, there's always like some sort of game going on at some point, or like I'm
Is
doing
busy.
something else. So
Yeah.
the audio from the vMix to, the computer, it's different every single day. So I have to make sure and go in and reset. So I freak out for a split second that I didn't reset something, even though we talked for like 20 minutes before the show and I could hear you perfectly fine. But that split second, I go, wow, did I not reset this? Did I not move this audio into this spot? So thanks, Nate. I appreciate it.
I am conditioned to, if I have to clear my throat or do anything before going on, to just like turn the mic off. But I also I forget to turn it
And
back
forget to
on.
turn the
That's my
mic back
problem.
on.
Yeah, which is also very problematic. So, anyways, welcome back into 244 as we're off and rolling here. The final episode of this week as we get ready to get into the weekend. Tanner White joining us. Indoor Insights with Tanner White at 9:30. You're going to talk a little bit Toronto remaining undefeated on the men's side, ahead of a lot of exciting matchups coming up this weekend. We'll also talk about the women's side as well. Ryan, I wanted to very quickly mention something before we get into our opening topics here today. Obviously, the World Baseball Classic about ready to get underway. We've seen all the different teams scrimmage, different major league sides or other different teams. Yesterday, we saw Japan put up 10 runs in 2 innings. Shohei Ohtani, 5 RBIs in his first showing with Team Japan. So if you think it's going to get any easier with Shohei Ohtani, it's not. It's going to get harder. And so they dominated yesterday, but we've seen a lot of
He
different
was
teams.
gambling yesterday. That's why.
Yeah, but well, his bookie was, or not his bookie, his
Interpreter?
translator, if you will, or interpreter. There you go. He's going to take the fall for him. But I wanted to make a quick shout because obviously I work in minor league baseball for the West Michigan Whitecaps, so they're the high A affiliate for the Tigers.
Oh, great. Kevin McGonigal Glaze coming in.
Not a McGonigal Glaze. No. World Baseball Classic representatives. Now, there's a lot of dual nationals on here because they released the list yesterday. And there are a few on here that I don't think are from the country of origin, but a lot of different representatives. I mean, Canada, Chinese Taipei, Korea, all over the place, Australia. And then there was one in Italy. We have one representative. It's our clubhouse manager, former clubhouse manager, I should say, who's now with the Tigers. He also does stuff with the Red Wings and the Griffins, I believe, as well. Sal Rottini, my cousin Sal Rottini, is representing Team Italy as their clubhouse manager. So he obviously has Italian blood, and I'm both mom and dad's side, but obviously, big Italian family. But I don't know if he just got a passport. I don't know how that worked out, but representing Team Italy for the World Baseball
You have an
Classic.
Italian
So
cousin.
that's pretty sick. Well, we're an Italian family. I'm my mom's
How
side.
are you Italian exactly? I think
know,
I
I
look
don't
more
look like
Italian
it.
than you.
I look like my father. Yes, I didn't get the genes, so I did say
Yeah,
I got
I
the
look more
genetic.
Italian than you. I think I've
Yeah,
been probably called. If I've been probably asked if I'm Italian more often than you've probably been asked if you're Italian.
No, I mean, people just assume I'm either Irish or Scottish, which I mean is a safe assumption. I mean, that's generally the way people go. But no, I didn't get that. But if you see my mom's side of the family, you'd understand it. I mean, even a couple of generations back, like it was the whole like the big rings and like everyone was named Joey or Joseph in the family. So no, it's definitely big Italian family. So anyways, shout out, second cousin Sal, representing Team Italy in the World Baseball Classic. That's got to be pretty it's got to be pretty
Sal.
freaking
And
cool.
somehow
But yeah,
Nate's an Italian. It's weird.
distantly Sicilian, actually.
I think if we took a poll on the show about who do you think's more Italian, I think they would say me over you.
You know, you do look like a mobster though. Like if you wanted to go as like a mobster for like a Halloween or something, or like if you wanted to like adopt like a second persona, I could see that. You look like one of those mafia guys.
Yeah, I did have
leave a dead fish.
I did have a what is it? I had a long distance No, it wouldn't be a long distance. But I never met him. He passed away before I was even born. But my mom said that we have a cousin that was in the Boston area, and apparently he could leave his nice Cadillac, expensive car unlocked in any place around Boston, and everybody in the city knew not to touch it. So
Oh, okay. I think I told you about I think I told you about my my grandma. They would go to sometimes when she was young, they would go to like horse races like the Kentucky Derby, and they would sit in really nice places in the place, and you know, they'd sit in like a suite or something, and they'd wonder like, why are we here? Like, I thought like our family members, like they're railroad workers, like how can
we're
they afford
poor.
this? It's like,
We're poor. Why are we here?
I don't know, someone disappeared, you know, things happen, so that's why
jeez.
we're here. So
Mom, we're poor.
no,
How
but
are we sitting here? Just don't ask questions.
yeah,
Just watch.
how did this work out? So no, it's but yeah, for sure. You don't have any Italian in you whatsoever. Zero.
I'm sure if I did like maybe a DNA test, maybe there is.
I've always
I'm s-
thought about doing that, like the Ancestry.com thing.
yeah, I
It is
was
pretty
actually what was it?
fascinating.
What was it? I was actually told that I could be Russian actually. Well, I
What do you
normally do
want
the
from me?
show without a
Who are
mic.
you?
Without
Who
a
are you?
mic.
What do you want from me?
Without a mic. So Nate typically doesn't do the show with a mic anyway or hear me,
Are
so
you
I
here
can
to
do the show normally.
steal my personal information and
No, it
sell it on the
was
black market?
what was it? My great aunt was at a funeral one time, and she was told that we could be Russian apparently, because they changed our last name to sound it less Russian. During like, because my family supposedly in like Pennsylvania had a uh fruit stand or a like some fruit stand vegetable like where you sell produce or something, and they
Yeah.
had a Russian last name, and obviously during those times no one's gonna buy from a Russian, so they changed it to a Polish name. So at least that's what I was told. But then at the same time, my family that came over here from the not the Mayflower, but they we went to the immigrate from New York. There's one of the names on that island when you first like come in from like Europe. It has our last name, so I don't know. It could be a total lie, but that's what I was told.
Are you a KGB sleeper agent? You have like a special word that I can say that'll make you like snap into it or something or snap out of it?
Yeah, just say Tarek Skubal's pretty good. Tarek Skubal's good, and I'll snap right
Hmm.
into it.
All right. I'm suspicious about you now. I don't know about Ryan Glinsky anymore. I think he might be a KGB agent because
Yeah, just
you know,
say
you're
you think
not.
Tarek Skubal's good and not a wimp, and I'll snap out of it. I'll snap into it
Yeah,
real
I
quick.
mean, you know, they train them to really ingrain themselves in the American culture. You know, they're good. You know, I mean, Russia's one of the only countries that uses sleeper spies. So I mean, just saying. So you know, everybody look out for one Ryan Glinsky. But let's get into our topic here in hour number one of the show today. Welcome back in to everybody joining us again. Follow us on social media, National Soccer Network or Sports Nation TV for our all sports content in hour two. I know we've been going more soccer heavy this week, but it feels like it's been more of a soccer heavy week. We're kind of entering into that space in the sports season where we're not quite to the postseason for certain sports. And obviously we're getting warmed up for March Madness, but kind of the end of the regular season. We'll talk a little bit more about that coming up later. Let's talk about Wrexham a little bit, Ryan. Taking on Chelsea tomorrow, 12:45 Eastern time against that team, and looking to obviously continue the dream and continue the move forward for this Wrexham club. You know, can they top Chelsea and continue the dream run in the FA Cup? Another full weekend of action awaits in that one, but you know, the story, the Wrexham story has been I think the one we've been the most excited to follow all year long. It's amazing to see what they've been able to do, and another chance to continue that run in the cup tomorrow.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, if there's a team that you'd want to play in the FA Cup if you're Wrexham, it would be Chelsea because of how disjointed they are.
Yeah.
And the run of form that they've had recently. I mean, I would love to see Wrexham, make a run. As long as they don't win the whole thing, that's obviously all that matters to me. As long as they don't
Mm-hmm.
win it, but I wouldn't mind seeing them knock off Chelsea and in Wrexham. It's been reported a couple players who they're targeting this summer, and they're all Welsh, which is kind of funny, obviously. But
Mm-hmm.
or Scottish too. They're all like in that UK area. And some big Premier
Hmm.
League names. I wouldn't say big Premier League big names, but previously, like 5 years ago, yeah, I would say so. But no, I would like to see them make a run. Ryan Reynolds and McElhenney wanted to play Chelsea in a Premier League side. I
Yep.
think it's also a very big measuring stick for them to see if, maybe if they do make it into the Premier League, maybe what do we have to adjust? What do we have to buy? What are the areas we might have to improve in? And if we get slaughtered by them, maybe we don't. Maybe we sell a couple of games and don't get promoted right away and hurt our confidence. I'm just kidding on that part, but no, it'd be a good measuring stick to see how well they do against a Premier League side. I mean, I always shit on Chelsea, and rightfully so, but they're a good team. They have some really good players on it. There's a couple really key players that they have, and I would like to see how Wrexham stacks up against it. Do I think, because the game I think is at the race course, do I think Wrexham wins? I'd be kind of inclined to say yes, they do. I think that with it being at home and it being, against a side that's, I don't know what to think of Chelsea every single time they step on the field because, like, you're either going to get this insane team that you can't touch and that, like, even 2010 Spain would struggle against, or you're going to get a team that, a team 5 divisions below might beat you. There's always, like, no in between with this club, and that's why I don't want to see Tyler Adams go there. That's just my personal opinion. I know we mentioned that yesterday, but no, I think Wrexham, I think it's going to be a really good measuring stick for them. I want to see how they compete against the big boys. I mean, is Chelsea the best team in the Prem? Not by a lot, but not at all. Are they a top 5 team? Maybe. But they're they're a top half of the table team, and this is a team that, if Wrexham were to get in the Premier League and they want to get promoted again, this is a team that they might have to knock some points off of, whether that's draws or wins. And I want to see, what that looks like for them. And I want to see how they'll be able to compete. And I'm excited for tomorrow's game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be a close game, no doubt about it. I think Chelsea has already struggled a little bit in that area of Europe, as you've talked about. They've had a hard time in Wales, so I know it's probably going to be a competitive game. And obviously, we talked about Wrexham is riding the momentum wave right now. Everything that they're doing, they can do no wrong. And I think this, their supporters and the community and the club and everybody else around this, it really, I mean, they're all bought in. And I think the other part that we really need to consider is the fact that, yeah, I mean, are they underdogs? Sure. But I mean, this is still a team that has, former Premier League players, and they also have proven championship players. So I think from a talent perspective, yeah, they're underdogs, but I wouldn't say they're nearly as far down, as far separated from Chelsea as people give it credit. So when you think about playing at home, at the, on your home,
Race
your home
course.
soil, that race course. That's what I was going to say. Racetrack, race course. But they're 6th in the table right now, occupying the final playoff position for 4 points over Southampton with 11 games remaining. So, I mean, it's a lot of great momentum. And I think that's the part that Wrexham is really going to need to capitalize on with 1 loss in just their last 9 competitions. Already beat a Premier League side, Nottingham Forest. Of course, that was back in January. But, I mean, they believe they can do it again. The only thing is, I think right now for Wrexham is that, yeah, Chelsea, maybe on an individual basis, a little bit more talented. They have struggled in Wales, but they are a top-of-the-table team. I know they've been disjointed. I'm going to go with Chelsea in a narrow one in this one. Probably a 2-1 finish. Might come down to the very end. But you're right. It is a measuring stick game. And if anything else, for Wrexham, it just goes to show, like, you are finally, I know you're looking for that final promotion, obviously, but, you're with the big dogs now. And so it's, it's not good enough to just have one win over, a championship or a Premier League side once in a while. You have to now start to prove that you can do so consistently. It's historic what you've done already to get to the point that you are. But now it's almost like put up and shut up time, I guess, is where, and now obviously if they lose this one, it's not like it's all over for Wrexham, but it's just a great opportunity. And so that's where it really comes down to really, how important this is. But, they are a talented side. I mean, I wouldn't say it's as lopsided of a matchup as people might give it credit or say that it is, but I think they have a pretty good chance. But I do think Chelsea squeaks it out in a close one.
No, I agree with you. I don't agree with you. Sorry, I was trying to do something right there. I had to bring in some highlights from this weekend that Tanner was doing, and I couldn't find
No, you're
it.
good.
Sorry about that. I couldn't find it,
You're
but I
good.
got it. I got it just barely. Um, I will say some of Tanner's calls are so energetic. I love him. He gets so excited for him. I get what you're saying that Chelsea might squeak this out, but let's back to the Nottingham Forest point where Wrexham won. Nottingham Forest is for some reason they're really good in 2026. Like if they always say that if the league were to like there's always a team that well if the league started in January this is where the team would be compared to everybody else. It's always a funny stat to me, but if the league were to start
Hmm.
in January, Nottingham would be like third I think in the league. They've been
Wow.
in really good run of form. I don't know why, but they were like almost relegated last year, but they're in really good run of form. So that's an impressive win for Wrexham. And I think I did see that McElhenney and Reynolds are doing the commentary, I think, for like there's like a
Really?
yeah, you know how there's like a Manning cast? I think they're doing that.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd have
Okay.
to double check that, but I think that's what they're doing
Okay.
for it. But no, it's going to be a massive test, and I think everyone, not just me and not just you either, Nate, but I think everyone in the world wants to see how good is this Wrexham team actually? Is it just Hollywood
Yeah.
FC? Is it actually just,
Hmm.
you know, are they any good? Like, is it just a whole bunch of smoke and nothing to it? And
Hmm.
everybody wants to see how good this team can be because it's a story. It's a really good story of being down in the fifth division just 3 or 4 years ago, and they get constant what one, then two, then three straight promotions. That's never happened before
Hmm.
in the history of English soccer. And I don't know what career mode they're playing right now, but whose FIFA career mode they're playing because their
Yeah.
road to glory, which again, KSI is now owning a non-division team now. Like it's all weird how some of this is
Yeah.
working, but give these guys credit. They Ryan and Rob, that is, give these guys credit. They use their name, image, and likeness in a good way, and not just
Mm.
to make $4 million, $6 million as a 24-year-old in college. Shout out Trinidad
Yeah.
Chambliss. Um, they used it in the right way, and they're getting a whole bunch of sponsors for it. I mean, the race course is now sponsored. They have a whole bunch of brands on their jerseys and all like advertisements around the stadiums and commercials now. Like, give these guys a lot of credit. They took a risk, they took a gamble, and they are turning it into something that a lot of people like, and it's also captivating casuals that don't even watch soccer because of the
Yeah.
name Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney and this story that they're producing. And like Nate, if I'm being honest with you, if I didn't watch soccer but I knew, Deadpool or It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, I would tune in every now and again just to
Yeah.
see like is this team actually
Yep.
any good? Like and then or
Hmm.
if you just watch the Hulu documentary, it's like I kind of actually want to watch this thing, and they do a really good job of captivating the community. And we've talked time and time again, this week and last week with USL
Yeah.
Championship coaches of like, and especially Atletico Dallas specifically, like how do we captivate a community? How do we bring a community together? And how do we make them one within the football club? And I think what they're doing, Rob and Ryan, what they're doing, it's unbelievable. And I'm excited to see how they compete against the big boys because ultimately that's the next phase. And if they have a plan, I don't know if they have a plan or what if they do have a plan, what it's called, but that's the next phase in their plan of well, how do we compete in the Premier League? How do we compete against the big teams? In our divisions and in our leagues. So I'm excited to see that.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, I mean, never underestimate the power of capitalizing on an emotional high. And right now, Wrexham in this fan base and everybody surrounding this is riding an emotional roller coaster that began a long time ago. And the history has already been made, but I think there's more coming on down the line. And so I think that's the hard thing for Chelsea, and especially with all the drama that's going on, maybe inside of the club
Oh, I
being
love
able
it.
to keep being able to keep a level head in an environment like that. That's my biggest question. Like, can Chelsea keep a level head in a rowdy, raucous, loud, passionate audience like that Wrexham place is going to be? Because they really are in a lot of ways. I know they call them the sixth man in basketball, the crowd sometimes or whatever. But in soccer they probably call it what, the 12th man. what do they call it? I know that's
They
what they
just
call
call
it
it
at
the
Texas A&M.
supporters. They
The
don't get
supporters.
American with it, but it would
Yeah,
technically be the 12th
but
man.
but anyways, so that is, that's the benefit that Wrexham has going into this matchup. I would love to see him win. I just want to pick something opposite of you because I know that normally we like to agree on certain things.
Yeah,
and we gotta
typically
start
you like the underdog. So
we
like I really
gotta
thought you were
start-
gonna go Wrexham. Like you love the whole underdog story. Like if
I
there's an
do, I do.
underdog in any sport, like Nate may never watch a sport like ever. Like he'd be a big curling guy all of a sudden, but oh my gosh, there's a story and this guy is from West Michigan. Oh, you bet your ass I'm rooting for him.
Love it. Let's head to break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit more Premier League. Tottenham,
Well,
looking like they're
with
going to be.
with Tanner
Is
coming
Tanner
on
coming
here
on
in
here
like
pretty
9
soon?
minutes, we'll do a couple
Do you want to
mailbag
do questions?
and then we'll bring
do that.
Tanner on, and then we'll talk
All
about
right.
Tottenham being relegated. It's
Bet,
great.
let's do it. Sounds good. FC Bayern Summer Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and dollars on registration by using promo code Bayern NSN30. Again, that's Bayern NSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at fcbayernyouth.com. Back in live on Inside the Game here, hour number 1, Indoor Insights, with our buddy Tanner White coming up here shortly, in about 8 minutes from now. But for now, we can get into some comments you guys left us here on social media. I heard there was one particular comment that was very loving about me that I from one of our fans on YouTube recently that you were telling me about the other day at the basketball game. But I'm sure we got a couple of other doozies in there as well if we want to get to them.
Yeah, I'd have to find it real quick. It was about who to bet. Okay.
They were doing Bukayo Saka and Christian Pulisic. Now you told me about it, and I went in to check, and I think he might have deleted it because
He did delete it, but I do remember it. It was I've never commented on a YouTube video before, but the guy in the beginning has made me want to comment on a YouTube video.
Okay. Very interesting. Makes me wonder why he deleted it. I mean, I don't know. We both went with Bukayo Saka on that one. Of course, he scored on that same exact night that you were telling me about that comment. So I obviously recently scored for Arsenal. But I mean, the bigger conversation is, and obviously this is something that I wanted to get into here at some point in hour number 1, is Arsenal may have to offload someone in the offseason with the amount of players that they have and where their payroll is. Obviously I don't think it would be someone like Bukayo Saka, but I don't know. I think he's the best winger in the Prem from what we've seen and from what I've read and from what I've, noticed. And so I don't think it's a ridiculous thing at all to say he's a step or two ahead of Christian Pulisic. And at 24, 3 years younger than what
No,
Pulisic
it's because
is.
you said he's the best Premier League player in the league. Or the best winger in the league. That's what they were upset about.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, either way. Any other ones you got there?
Some people are just saying that the U.S. will not be going far in the World Cup. But this one was about my KSI thing because now KSI all of a sudden is buying a team. I forget the exact team because there's two names to it and they're long. But he says not a former YouTuber, he is still a YouTuber, an active one at that. Excited to see what he does. See, I don't know who's a YouTuber and who's not anymore. Some people are YouTubers. Some people are like business people. Some people are boxers. Like, it's just crazy to think that, a couple years, like a decade ago, these guys were just playing FIFA in their mom's basement, and now they're making multi-million-dollar deals to buy teams or have products or be in the WWE. It's just crazy to think that there's like, they started out as that and now they're becoming, this. It's really impressive to see how far some of these people and YouTubers, social media influencers, whatever you want to call them, how far they've come.
Yeah. It's amazing what streaming has done for a lot of people. And I mean, I know like to turn a hobby into a money maker is something that is it's not an easy thing to do. I mean, it takes a lot of time. I think that's the thing that catches me the most is like the sheer amount of time that it takes. Like I've seen like these 24-hour streams and I'm like, how can you allow people to have that much exposure to your life? But yeah, someone like him, I mean, he's created that for himself. And so, and I also think there's kind of a push right now for Americans, whether it be celebrities like we've talked about, or just people with influence and money to get involved in the soccer/football space. I don't know what it is with the boom recently in more Americans getting involved, whether it be part ownership or, starting a club or whatever the case may be, or just getting involved in the ownership groups of these teams. We've seen a real influx of that. And so I don't know. I don't know how celebrity culture came to kind of latch on to that. But it's just a recent one in a growing list of them. Because you talked about Snoop Dogg being a minority owner, obviously recently too, with the warm welcome that he got. So yeah,
Swansea
it's certainly been, it's been a trend.
Lockdown Pulisic wipes Saka. I'm not gonna lie, that's probably true. Lockdown Pulisic is that guy was something else. What can I say? This says overall Saka. Overall, it's Saka. This year, Pulisic. Saka hasn't been himself for a while now. I mean, he was really good last year. He was really good the year before that. Is he having a down year? But it's also the way that how good the team is. It's almost like yesterday I was listening to this. They're like, Jax Lindenborg shouldn't be, player of the year because he's the best player on the team, and there's just so many options. It should be this guy and this guy. I go, what do you want the guy to do? Like, you're producing on the best team. Like, you can't knock a guy because he's the best player on a team and he's still producing. Like, if anything, it's a little bit more impressive the numbers that he has on such a really good team. And same thing with Yak, same thing with Saka. Like, there's so many options for people to score and so many, mouths to feed that your numbers are going to go down when you have so many elite players around you. It's like I always feel that as a lazy take. I do. If anything, it's more of like, if he's not out there, what does that mean? But Saka and Hacks, they create so much, attention on them, and it's like they've got to be out there because of that reason. So that's always a lazy take for me. It always is.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, I mean, the way that they play too. I don't know if that takes maybe opportunities away from him, but anything else you got in terms of comments? I know we got Tanner coming up here in about maybe a few seconds here.
No, we can just head to a break and wait for him to come on.
Yeah. Alrighty. Sounds like a plan. We'll be right back here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics,
letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Inside the Game rolls along, episode 244 here on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky, and now we're going to get some indoor insights from our man Tanner White.
Hey guys,
What's going on,
good
my man?
morning. Guys, great to see you again. I love that we continue to workshop the name. I think maybe we try and give it just a different name every single weekend and see what sticks. You know what I mean? Straw poll at some point, see what the people want.
Yeah, I mean, I
I
don't
like
mind it. We
that.
just get a
Yeah,
different
I
name
mean-
every single day. This was actually the Indoor Insights with Tanner White was actually like right after you left the show last Friday. One of the comments from the live YouTube chat was like, "How about Indoor Insights with Tanner White?" And we're like, "That's kind of good." So that's what we're rocking with at least this week.
Yep,
Yeah,
flows.
right
That's
on.
what
I
we're
like-
rolling with.
Sure.
Going into the weekend, though, obviously we got a lot of storylines here. As reading up a little bit on, we can start on the men's side. Obviously, Toronto's unbeaten streak continues. It just seems like they're a machine that is going to be hard to stop for anybody. And obviously, a lot of exciting matchups here today. Sorry, coming up this weekend. Your biggest takeaways from the men's side, and obviously what Toronto's been doing.
It is frankly going to be so tough to beat them. They still got two more, and I fully expect them to take care of business. I don't expect them to, frankly, take that foot off the pedal at all, because they've got that ability to run the table. And so what's the point, really? You get just your semifinal and final when we do get to Vegas. They'll have a little bit of time to rest. Unfortunately, they do have to play that weekend of the 21st. And now the one good news for them is they do get to play at home. But that's Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's a tough club, very, very physical. They played a lot of good teams really tight. And so that's not ideal because they're already locked in. They've been locked in. They know they're going to Vegas. But you've got to play that weekend before. And so that's the one match where maybe they have to manage it a little bit. Up until that point, Toronto's been dominant. They are still the class of this league until proven otherwise for this year. I know Amarillo still has a lot to say as defending champs. I know Amarillo is still nasty this year, and their goal differential just keeps getting bigger and bigger. And they have a really important chance to clinch right here on Saturday against Vegas. And so this should be the weekend when everything clears up. I thought that, okay, we could start to see a lot more of it last weekend. And on the WMLIS side, we did get some answers because Utah and Phoenix both locked in. But on the men's side, it is still tricky. I'd say the number one game that I'm most excited about, I'm going to be there, going to be calling this game. Over in Chicago, there could be a bloodbath with Chicago and Cleveland. And I mean that in the nicest way possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The last time that those squads met up, you had a coach tossed with a red, and 2 games there. You had the longest suspension in the history of our league given out with a 4-gamer.
Wow.
And there was other cards everywhere. The animosity of that game, as Cleveland did what they do and what we expected them to do. They won that game 10-1, but there was so many other takeaways from it. And there could be that same kind of thing in Chicago this time because of that recent bad blood. I think that could be one of the most explosive. Plus, Cleveland's just got to win, and they're in. If Chicago wins, man, we're flipping everything on its head, and we're starting to say, what if the Cleveland Crunch are out of Vegas?
Ooh.
I'm not gonna lie, we might have to put a
Is
GoPro
that- is-
on Tanner while he's calling this game this weekend just to see what's
Right.
going on in between the benches.
Yes,
you
the-
kind of
the
call the game like
commentary
in
reaction.
between the benches there, right? Kind of like in hockey.
Yep.
Okay, we
Yeah,
might,
you're
we
re-
might,
you're
we might have to
pretty
ask John,
viscerally
hey,
close.
let's give Tanner a GoPro while things are
Do you-
going on crazy.
Do you get any screamers? You get any screamers coming up at you?
It's happened. It's happened time to time.
I've
You know, I
almost
mean,
gotten a
even
puck before.
Oh, no way.
That was fun. Yeah. Yep. In between the glass.
So there
Yeah,
was
that
a game
fun.
last year. Yeah, absolutely. There was a game last year. I'm going to Chicago and I'm doing stats and holding the laptop up with one hand, and one comes flying at me, and it knocks the laptop out of my hands because the net snaps back at me, and I catch the thing. I jump off of the chair I'm standing on. You know, 'cause I'm not a tall gentleman, right? That was all I could do to save this MacBook from certain death was jump off the chair and catch this thing. And I look over at everybody on the benches.
Nice.
I said, okay, guys, did anybody see that? And one
Made
of my
a play.
referees said, Yeah, right. You got to make a play, right, when it comes to you.
And it happens fast in indoor soccer. Tanner, I got to revisit this. This past weekend, there was a clip posted, and then Utah Rising were a little bit upset that you didn't mention them. Why do you think that they're a little bit upset that they're not the number one team in the? I believe it was your men's power rankings. Why do you think they're a little bit upset about that?
Yeah, it was on the women's side, but I know
Women's side,
exactly.
okay.
What you mean. Yeah. Look, that club is now impossible to ignore. Okay, they have won and swept the head-to-head with Phoenix, and Phoenix is really good. Phoenix looked outstanding in Vegas, going undefeated right on that 7th and 8th weekend. And then Utah, just from the moment that they took the pitch there in Vegas, lit everybody up too. They only played 2 games there. But now as they're undefeated and they're pushing for the best goal differential and will likely end up with it, it's exactly what they said in the comments there. They said, so how many more goals do we have to score? And it's not that we're not talking about Utah. It's that they have clearly made that statement. They are every bit as capable of winning this championship this year, in year 2 of WMLIS, as Chicago is. When they meet, I don't even want to say if they meet in the final. It's disrespectful to Phoenix, dang it. But you know what I mean. I feel like these two clubs are on a crash course. Chicago has still never lost, but Utah now can boast the same thing on their women's side. And so when those two meet, do I think that that's going to be the most entertaining WMLIS match of all time? It's tough to top last year's final with Chicago and Fort Wayne, and people didn't think that Fort Wayne was going to be even able to hang in there. And then it was an 8-7 game all the way down to the wire, back and forth. I think you had like 7 goals scored in the 4th quarter of that one, and it was insanity. And that was by far and away the most that the Chicago women's team's ever been pushed. And then I think this year could top that. And I do expect it to be Chicago and Utah. And then Utah comes and wins this year, then the discussion's over, right? Then that's our top club.
I guess I'll make this question simple. I mean, what does Utah have to do to beat a team like Chicago? Is there a flaw? Is there a hole in Chicago's game?
So Chicago has been rotating keepers this year. If you find somebody that's just not the hot hand at that point, right? If you find a keeper that's struggling, then we've seen Utah with a ton of shot volume early on, right? I mean, just throw a bunch of crosses up there, take some wild shots from forever, get fouled, right? Get some free kicks, shoot on your direct free kicks and those kind of things.
Yeah.
And by pure volume, try to overwhelm them. Because, man, Chicago has been doing that to everybody else. Not only are they quick and they have reigning Defensive Player of the Year, Stephanie Freund, on that Chicago back end, but the shot volume, the shot discrepancy that they typically put up, I think when you start to see if somebody could flip that around and shoot earlier and more often than Chicago, I think that gives them a chance. And Utah is the top scoring club in WMLIS. They're the ones that have the chance to do it.
It feels like you have to get off to like a blazing start to beat this team. Like you almost have to get out ahead of them to have a chance. You don't want to play from behind or play like you're climbing a mountain, because it ain't going to happen. So anyways, take it away, Ryan. I just thought that was interesting. You definitely have to get off to a hot start for sure.
Yeah, it's almost like from the neutral perspective, you want them to go down a couple goals early just to make it entertaining in the end. Tanner, you had a chance to do the Chicago Mustangs versus Lansing Red Cedar here on the men's side this week. And what were a couple takeaways from that game that you did?
You know, that Lansing team is so scrappy. Chicago did win that one, right? That's not a secret, and it was 11-6. That belies how insanely tough Lansing is. Physically, I've been telling you, I think last week we mentioned Aiden Bagley is one of the best D-men in this league. The leader in block shots by a whole bunch. And the guy's also 3rd in the league in scoring, and I think tops in the entire Northern Conference as a defender. He's fantastic. Anthony Racinos was actually the guy that you saw tackled in that clip right there. 10 midfielder, just super, super physical, even as a smaller guy. They've got Yuri Tukalevsky is a warrior of a keeper, and everybody on that Lansing side is super tough.
That sounds like a hockey goaltender name right there. Tukalevsky?
Isn't it a name? Yes, a Ukrainian,
That's great.
just super, super well-traveled and very interesting dude. Really good dude. And like I say, absolute warrior. He did get a card for a rather reckless tackle that was hilarious there, and then had to serve minutes for that, and you gave up a shootout goal off of it, right, when you have to make the keeper change. Not ideal. But truly, I think that Lansing has so much heart, and this was a winless club last year that really didn't compete in hardly any games. You hate to say it, but that's what their ownership will tell you too, right? And I've talked to them about that. They said, yeah, we needed to put on a better show this year. We needed to be competitive. We needed to do more of what was expected of us on game day operations side. We needed to have more eyes on us. They switched to an NSN production. And
Shout out.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Thank you, guys. And it is amazing the kind of turnaround that club has made. It's not all totally reflected in the standings yet, right? The best that they can do now is 5-7. However, hanging with the top teams in this league and just tough as nails. Chicago, they have gotten absolutely flaming hot at the correct time. That's no secret. And if they beat Cleveland, then everything is up in the air for the entire postseason. And Chicago was kind of written off for the whole middle of the season. Now, forget about all that. It all comes down to Saturday night.
Yeah, it's true. With the changes in the front office and kind of buttoning things up, do you see that leading Lansing into a position to maybe be a team that could compete for a title come next year?
I think if they get there, if they get to the postseason, then yes, they can be dangerous. They had some injuries. That's not a secret. They've had more towards the back half of the season, really rotated a lot of bodies through, so haven't had as much continuity as the top clubs. But yes, absolutely, there is a chance that they are some of the top contenders for next year. What does expansion look like? What does the playoff field look like and the playoff format look like? Frankly, I don't know, guys. You don't know. We don't know all around the front office. But I tell you what, we're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And there's a likelihood that we expand aggressively within one more off season. And then, yeah, Lansing can absolutely end up there. They are just that tough, and they have that kind of resolve.
Hey, if Lansing needs an extra player next year, I got him. I wouldn't mind playing. Tanner,
hey, remember, you got to go over to Novi.
Novi?
Yeah, that's where they play.
Okay, gotcha. Well, looks like I'm going to go Novi. That's not far. That's only like 40 minutes. That's fine.
Yeah, it could be worse.
So, Tanner, I'm a person that likes the final day to be hectic and, soccer. Whether we had a tournament that we had here in the National Soccer Network, and I was so hyped that, our group one day on the final day, all 4 teams could have eventually got through. Are there any storylines that this week, maybe some results that you think this weekend can go a certain way where the final day of the season, not the 21st, because there's only one game on the 21st, but next weekend for the 14th and the 15th, that's going to cause some utter mayhem and really exciting finish?
There are a few. So the first team that has a real chance to shake something up is Las Vegas against Amarillo. Amarillo undefeated for this year, and like we said, they were champions last year, beating what was a very, very dominant Cleveland team. So if Vegas wins that one on Saturday, conversations start to open up a little bit. Amarillo would not be locked in yet. Then you look to Sunday, and Salt Lake City, we know, is still alive in the South Conference. And if Salt Lake City also wins and Amarillo kind of starts taking a step back, then question mark. And Orlando is still in the mix. Again, Orlando's going to finally polish out their schedule after they had a really, really front-loaded whole slate until just now. They're going to go to Dallas, and we predict that they'll take care of business. So we assume that Orlando's going to be locked in on Saturday. But I think then you say, okay, our 3 clubs with the chance to really shake things up are Vegas and Utah in the south and Chicago in the north, of course, with Cleveland. Those are the, probably the 3 most influential matches on the MLIS side. And then that last week becomes really interesting. Cleveland's going to get to host a couple. They host on both the 14th and 15th. So if they're not already locked in, then they're going to have a chance. But one of those matches is against Toronto. And there's no guarantee, like we say, that Toronto's going to sandbag that or Toronto's going to let anybody have it. They may take care of business against Rockford, and still probably with Cleveland, if you don't lose out, you're fine and you'll be able to make it in. But the what ifs and the scenarios and the situations, guys, it's going to be awesome, I think, no matter how you slice it.
It seems endless, and I think that's the most exciting part about it, for sure.
I'm with you.
But
right.
that's Tanner
Yeah.
time, or Indoor Insights, rather, with Tanner here on Inside the Game. We appreciate you stopping by, as always. We'll keep workshopping that name as we continue to go here. Maybe, when the summer comes around, we could do this show shirtless outside and call it Tanning with Tanner. How about that?
Oh,
Sorry.
Oh, boy, that
I think I'm
comes
funny.
extra,
I'm trying over here.
I can use a
Extra.
tan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty pale right now.
Yeah, well,
I only
we
burn.
sit a little bit outside. Yeah.
We can do it outside.
I only.
We'll force John to
That's what
make
I'm
us do
saying.
it outside.
That's what I'm saying. We're already going to Dallas, so maybe as well, find somewhere else we can do this. So we're trying to put together our travel list here on Inside the Game. But we appreciate you stopping by as always, brother.
All right, Ryan, Nate, thanks so much, guys.
See you, Tanner.
Tanner
Hey,
White, you're on
be
Inside the Game.
safe this weekend. Be safe in the Cleveland-Chicago game. Be safe.
You're telling me I may need it, but thank you very much.
Don't take a stray.
All right. See you, Tanner.
Take it easy.
All right, later.
Yeah, I
Good
really
stuff,
hope
man.
Tanner's okay. Come next week. Sounds like a pretty
be-
intense game going on.
He'll be all right, man. And to be between the glass for that too that's gotta be a lot of fun.
Imagine being between the glass for what does they call it? What does Darren McCarty call it? D-Day, fight night at the Joe.
Oh yeah.
Imagine being there, being like you're the
Dude.
in between the glass reporter, and you're just like, well, Nate, what's going on down there? Fighting. Don't know, but it's fighting.
Mayhem.
Everyone's fighting. I don't know what's
Mayhem.
going on. I'm just
You're
in
an
awe
utter
right now.
mayhem. No, being in between the glass, just the chirping is something that I would want to hear. That's the part that I'd be like is the most entertaining
Hey,
part.
Leon,
of all
always
of it.
the
'Cause, like,
bridesmaid, never the bride.
Yeah, you can never hear any of that on the TV broadcast. I mean, sometimes they'll show it, but like you can really hear it when you're in between the glass.
I would've
I
liked-
only did one.
I would have liked to be
Go
in
ahead.
between the glass for the first Four Nations USA-Canada game. That would have been sick.
That would have been fun. I only did one game in between the glass in my life, and it was the freaking Grand Rapids Fire Department and Grand Rapids Police Department hockey game. And I almost got a deflection right to the forehead. So it's it's an entertaining one. For sure.
It
But
has got to be on a swivel.
1000%. It has to be on a swivel. But let's set it aside here for a moment. When we come back, we'll get back to our Premier League talk. Again, that was Tanner White with our look around indoor soccer, Indoor Insights. Be posting that up on social media. But Barca Academy is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30. Again, that's FCB30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I sing my song Grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now
for Barca
Barca
camp.
Camp.
Sports Nation TV and the National Soccer Network bring you inside the game here on NSN. It's a lot of words there. Here rolling along in hour number 1 after Tanner White gave us a breakdown Major League Indoor Soccer. We were talking earlier about the FA Cup. Wrexham taking on Chelsea coming up tomorrow. Some other news, though, around the Prem specifically. Ryan, Tottenham could get relegated 1 point away after an embarrassing loss just the other day. They have been, they've been playing extremely poorly as of late. It's looking as if, unless they're able to save their season here in the final stages of the Premier League regular season campaign, they could very well be on their way down. What are your takeaways from what Tottenham's been doing lately?
It's awesome. It's awesome.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
It's great. No, it's dude, they play horrible, man. Like, there's no structure. There's no nothing. Like, it doesn't even look like they care out there. They give up easy stuff all the time. And, like, Crystal Palace isn't a world beater, but they make, I mean, there was a 10-minute at one point, but it felt like Crystal Palace looked like prime Barcelona out there, man. Like, they're making everyone, look like prime Barca. And there's a couple good players out there. I mean, Xavi Simons, Christian Romero, as much as I don't like him, he's a good player, but especially for the Premier League standards. But Solanke, I forgot about him too. They spent like 60-70 million on him. But it's just getting rotting. It's just getting rotten now. Like, this whole club is just, it's becoming rotten to the core. And the funny thing is they just spent, millions and hundreds of millions of dollars, a couple years ago. I think when Poch was still the manager on their new stadium, I think it was 2021, 2022, that kind of time frame.
Yeah.
And they bought the stadium they made the stadium so they could, host NFL games, which I still will say is stupid to this day. But it's just like, what's going on there? Like, this hasn't happened before. They got relegated back in the 70s, but they came up, relatively quickly. And now it just seems like there's no players that are good. There's no players that, outside of the ones that I listed that are like, man, there's a really good player. I mean, they have a ton of youngsters. I get that, but you're a club that, a cup that is still in the Champions League, which is funny about this is they could still technically win the Champions League and then lose and then get relegated. Like, that is just crazy to think that you could be relegated and win the Champions League at the same time in the same season. But it's what it's becoming down to is big clubs like this don't recover from relegation. They don't, because your standard is so high. Everyone flips like that. Your players that you then have brought in that are, somewhat good, Premier League proven, they all leave your club because it's like, yeah, we got to get out of here. You can't sell them, when you go down to the championship, you can't sell them for, what you would normally do if you were still in the Premier League, because, like, a Premier League club can come to you and be like, yeah, we want X player, but, we're not paying the price because, they're in the championship and we have all the power. You have no pull in transfer negotiations. Then I don't think people realize there's like, I think 24 teams in the championship. So you're then playing 46 games compared to 38 games. And then you also have to still factor in the Carabao Cup. You still have to factor in the FA Cup. And if they were to somehow win the Champions League, then you're then playing in the Champions League on top of all that. I think there was one club that actually won the FA Cup. Oh no, there's two, I think, that won the FA Cup and then got relegated. But you still, when you win the FA Cup, you go to play Europa League. I think that was Portsmouth in 08-09, and then I think it was Wigan Athletic in like 2012, 2013, somewhere in that time frame, where they beat Man City, but then they get relegated playing Europa League. So it's like this whole cluster. So there's massive issues when it comes to Tottenham because of it's a big club. Like, Nate, picture just not the New York Yankees. Picture the New York Mets, being relegated to AAA baseball. Like, all those players, the Juan Sotos of the world, the Francisco Lindors of the world, they will then have to leave, and you can't sell them for whatever they're making, whatever their transfer value is. I mean, there is no transfer value for these guys, but put a price tag on them. You can't sell them for that. You can maybe sell them for half of that. But with a club of this magnitude, a club of this size, going down, it's going to be detrimental to them. And especially you're
Yeah.
still paying off the stadium, and you still have to pay off some players. And, you don't have – there's no one in this squad that, next season I'm looking at and I'm like, man, they can really make an impact in the championship next season and bring them back to the Prem. That's just not the case. And the amount of money that they're going to lose, the amount of fans that they're going to lose, the amount of, broadcasting money that you're going to lose, and the players that you're going to lose, it's going to be detrimental to them. And I could potentially see them not getting promoted after one season. And I'm not saying they get relegated down to League One. I think they're too big to do that. But we've seen clubs in the Premier League be there for a long time, get into the championship, lose other players, they can't recover from this, and then boom, they're back into League One because they get relegated. So it's a very slippery slope right now for Tottenham. But I will say this. You got 9 cup finals to end the season. You've got to come away somehow with again, I'm not saying they're going to have a winning record in those 9 games, but you've got to somehow come away staying in the Premier League. Hope a team like West Ham doesn't get a team like West Ham doesn't get hot at the right time, but it's almost a title race. It's a relegation battle, but it's almost a title race.
And they established themselves as one of the richest teams in the world. But the problem is, after doing that, they fell into this holding pattern. And that's the thing that's really kind of dragged them down this path that very well could lead to these disastrous results that we're talking about right now, which is they get a bunch of good young players. They all go, they play together for about 4 years, and then they leave and they go off to a bigger club or they go find somewhere else to play. And it has been this cycle that has just started a while ago for Tottenham, and it has just continued. And it's the reason why, and this isn't even including the current year, but this is the reason why all of this has led to where we are. They became one of the richest clubs in the world. They invested a lot of money, and you talked about building a stadium that obviously could include NFL games, but I don't know if they've necessarily put all their money in the right places. And certainly their development is whatever, but their ability to hold on to players has not been great either. I mean, it has really been, they've just been in this vicious over and over again cycle. And, they say the definition of ignorance is like trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And sometimes when you look at Tottenham as an organization, that's kind of been the way that they've conducted themselves. It feels like they're trying the same thing again and again and again and just expecting something different, but they're not getting it. But you're right. And if you want a look into why, like Major League Soccer and the owners here in America in that league don't want promotion and relegation, or they don't want, a league that, they have to send a team down or whatever, is because closed league structures protect owners and they protect brands, because you can have a terrible season and that's still fun. You're still in the NFL. You ain't going anywhere. You're still in Major League Baseball. You're still going to make the money. And so you're right. That is the part that I think is the most alarming, is that if Tottenham does go down to League One, that might change everything. And especially for a club that built so much momentum for themselves in how much money that they do have and how financially viable they are as a club. So it's a sticky situation, and it's certainly one that they need to protect themselves from that, because that could go really bad for them. Oop. I think you're muted, Ryan. Can't hear you, buddy. Are you muted?
Oh,
Are
that's
you
why I was
muted?
taking water. Look at I pulled a U. Look at you. So looking at the
Know what
schedule,
happened?
they got Atletico on Tuesday, Champions League, and then they have them
Yeah.
next Wednesday in the Champions League as well. But we won't be talking about Champions League. Should they take that? Should they still prioritize that? Yeah, it's the Champions League. You still have to prioritize that. But looking at the league in general, you have Liverpool at Anfield. You don't come away with anything there. But then on March 22nd, you have Nottingham. That's got to be 3 points, because you guys are you are 1 point above them in the table. You're 16th, they're 17th. But West Ham is in 18th, who's in the final relegation spot, only 1 point apart. You've got to somehow find a way to come up with 3 points. I know Nottingham has been very tough to play, very tough to beat as of recent times, but you've got to come away with 3 points. You've got to somehow come away with 3 points. Then you have, after the international break, you have Sunderland at home. They've fallen back to earth, Sunderland, as they should, as normal newly promoted sides do when they have a hot start. That's at home. Hopefully you come away with something out of that. Brighton away, I don't see you coming out of anything with that because Brighton away from home, very difficult. And it's, that later in the day, that's difficult. Wolves at home, you've got to win that. You have to win that. Villa at home, they've been playing poorly. Maybe you get a result out of that. Leeds away, you've got to come away with 3 points there. Then you have Chelsea at home. Maybe you can get a result there. Everton on the road. Final game of the season. Hopefully you're not even in a relegation battle at that point. Hopefully you've solidified that you're still in the Prem. But, looking at this, there's a couple of must-win games, and that's Nottingham, that's Wolves, and that's Leeds. You must come away with 3 points in all those games. If you can do that, I feel really comfortable about your position in staying in the Premier League. If you can come away with 3 points, because in the final 9 games, that means you got 3 wins. I don't see West Ham and Nottingham Forest even having 3 wins up to that point in the final remainder of the season. If I'm just looking at the schedule, Nottingham is a more difficult than you. I think if you can come away with those 3 wins out of those 9, I feel really comfortable, because at the same time, a lot of people, and myself included, we only look at title races. You have to win every single game up to this point, but it's a relegation game, a relegation battle. So you're battling teams that also lose a lot too. So it's not like, you lose one game, it's not the end of the world, but, you've just got to make sure that you don't lose as many games. Draws are important now. If it was a title race, draws suck. Those basically feel like losses at this point of the season. But in a relegation battle, any point is vital. And there's a lot of winnable games and a lot of games where you could see a point awarded to you, because you don't have to play the Arsenals. You don't have to play the Man Cities. You don't have to play Man United. The toughest game is Liverpool away and Chelsea away. And, these teams still have to play Liverpool. So it basically will cancel itself out. But you've got to come away with 3 points, somehow find a result in every single game, whether that's a draw or a win. You're not going to go unbeaten to end the season, but at the same time, you wonder if after what Liverpool and Atletico, after the Liverpool game and after the round of 16 games against Atletico, you wonder if you fire your manager based on how that looks, because you need something to end the season. We talk about new manager bumps all the time, and you wonder if that's going to become efficient later on down the line.
Could be disastrous. Could be bad for Tottenham if they're unable to turn it around, for sure. Coming up on the other side here on Inside the Game, wanted to chat about this. I saw this on social media a little bit earlier. FIFA allowing TV networks to air commercials during hydration breaks during the World Cup. Some of the comments were hilarious, talking about how they're going to go from halves to quarters for the World Cup here in the United States. We're Americanizing everything here in the U.S. Also, J.J. Watt was on Men in Blazers the other day, talked a little bit about his expectations, also talked about VAR as well. Ryan, you mentioned that, so we'll talk about that on the other side. But first, let's tell you about Man City Soccer Camps, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels. These camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30. Again, that's MCNSN30. Or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you, usacamps.mancity.com. we roll along here on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler alongside Ryan Glinsky getting into our final topic, I believe, here in the soccer conversation. Again, a great first hour. Thanks again to Tanner White joining us on the show. We'll have those clips up on social media if you want to check that out. Let's get into this part of the conversation. Ryan, I saw this again on social media a little bit earlier this morning. You and I were chatting briefly before we came into the show about it. But FIFA, it will be allowing TV networks to air commercials during hydration breaks in the World Cup. Now, truth is, Ryan, I had a feeling you're not going to have the massive lucrative TV deals that you have in something like the World Cup if you're not going to give them every single potential opportunity to put their ads out there. You know, ad space is something that is infinitely valuable. I think the only thing that people maybe take issue with is that if this is timed out the way that I'm picturing it when you talk about hydration break timeouts, it almost feels like a media timeout type thing in basketball. Like, it almost feels like, yeah, maybe it'll fluctuate on when the time is or when they do it, but it almost feels structured and planned out. And I think it's just going to be uncomfortable for people watching it. To me, it doesn't really make that big of a difference, but I just think people look at it and they think this is just another example of trying to, again, kind of Americanize the experience.
Yeah, no, it's hydration breaks have been a thing forever. This isn't nothing new. This is the only difference is they want to add, commercials over it, which again, I'm not opposed to it because you want to make the most money that you can. But
yeah,
it's not a timeout or anything. There's no media timeout. There's no nothing. It's too hot to play. That's basically what it is. It's too hot to play the damn game. So what do we do to protect some of these players? We give them a little bit of a break. Is it basically a timeout?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it basically is. Do I see teams like all of a sudden come out of the gate and like the game switches? Not really. It's not that massive of an advantage to certain teams. Maybe they get some instructions and maybe position a little bit differently, but that's what halftime's for. You can't really bark out new instructions that quickly to every single player. So it's not a big advantage to everyone, but hydration breaks have been a thing forever. I mean, if we really want to talk about it, when a player is injured on the ground for a long period of time, or VAR is on for a long period of time, we can throw commercials during that too if you really want to, because those are long enough breaks, and that's long enough for a coach to bring his players in and talk about something real quick. We see it all the time in the game of soccer. We will see players come over to, while an injury is going on, we'll see players run over to the coach. They drink water, they get a hydration break, quote unquote, and they talk about it with the manager. The only difference this time is it's actually going to be, a scheduled thing. It's happened in every World Cup. It's happened in 14, happened in 10, happened in 18. It happens all the time. But it's ultimately too hot to play these games. So you need to give these guys some recovery, because we don't want all these players injured, because at the end of the day, we want to see the best teams play each other in the final couple of rounds. Everyone loves a Cinderella story until all of a sudden it's filled with Cinderella stories in the biggest moments. That's why a couple of years ago, everyone hated the Final Four. So I don't mean to burst your bubble, Nate. I know you like the Cinderellas and the underdogs. I know that. But at certain points, we don't want to see Cinderellas all the way to the end. We want to see the best players on the field at the same time. Whether that's that's like the Mbappes of the world, the Messis, the I don't want to say Ronaldo because it's Ronaldo. We want to see Erling Haalands of the world. We want to see those best players in those moments. So what are we going to do? We don't want these guys to cramp up and have to come out of the game for an extended period of time, and they're playing down a man. Some countries are. So to the commercials, yes, it's going to be very Americanized. But at the same time, there's nothing going on during the game. It's like a minute long of a hydration break. I'm completely fine with this thing. This isn't an Americanized thing, because hydration breaks have happened all the time. It's just that they're finally like, wow, we see a money opportunity. Go for it. You know what you can do? You know what we can do? We can do exactly this. We can do exactly this. Boom, we got the game where I'm sitting right here. Boom, the commercial break is going on right here, where the Salt Athletic thing is. There's not an issue with it, because you just still throw the game up on the screen, but there's commercials going on. The news does it all the time during breaking news. So why should there be an issue about the World Cup happening? Is it Americanized? 100%. But if I was a business owner, if I was in charge of this whole tournament, and there's an opportunity to make a couple $100 million during the tournament because I threw up for twice every single game, I threw up a minute worth of ads during where it's not even playing, no one's even playing. You bet your ass I'm doing it. So there's no issue with it. Is everyone going to be pissed off because it's Americanized? Well, let me tell you something. Everyone gets pissed when there's America's involved in something in the global scale. So you're already behind the 8 ball because the World Cup's in America. So no matter what goes on in this tournament, everyone's going to hate. Why? Because it's America. So if they did this thing in the Brazilian World Cup 2014, they'd be like, oh my God, this is a great idea. So it's because it's in America and it's soccer and we call it soccer instead of football. I'm telling you. You know how I said yesterday about it? The world would end if Arsenal wins the Prem? If America wins a World Cup, world ends. So anything America does is already hated on. So there's no issue with it.
There's a sense that FIFA is willing to try things too in the United States, which this is not that big of an adjustment. I mean, as you're talking about, I know it's been happening for a while, but it just seemed more structured, but it's also not that massive of a leap to just have a couple of split commercials during those times. But we've seen FIFA be like, hey, let's try a few new things. Let's try some different things. Yeah, we can custom make it for the United States, but we have a little bit more flexibility when it comes, I feel like, to the U.S. than maybe some of the other places in the world. But that perfectly transitions into the next point of this conversation. It was J.J. Watt who was on Men in Blazers yesterday and is asked the question about his expectations for the World Cup. Now, for those in our soccer audience that don't know who J.J. Watt is, he's an American football player. He was a defensive end in the NFL. He was one of the more feared defensive linemen for a long time, went to Wisconsin, went to Central Michigan to start his college career. He was a tight end. He wanted to play defense. They said no, and so he left and then went to Wisconsin. But he was a pizza delivery driver in Mount Pleasant once upon a time. Fun fact. But anyways, talked about what his expectations were for the World Cup, and he said, America to win, quote, can you imagine if we brought football home before England, unquote. Well, I mean, I guess it's a little misleading simply because England already has a World Cup. I realize it was a long time ago, but they still already have one.
Oh, because everyone recalls that one in 1966.
No, they don't. I don't think anybody does. I'm just saying they got one. It still counts, but here's what I'll say about this. And I think it's really interesting when we talk about the World Cup coming here and obviously watching our boys go out and play. There's an expectation that's kind of been built by what we've seen from our other international teams, our men's basketball team, now the hockey team. And obviously,
did you post about the hockey team yesterday? I don't know if I saw it.
Crap! No, I didn't get my story up.
Oh God, poor Nate.
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah,
you know what, Nate? This might cheer you up, though. This might cheer you up real quick. Comment coming in from Schrock. Big brick show. Love it. Modern on the left and the remains of a pyramid on the right. Now, he's not wrong. He's pretty accurate with that statement.
It's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it is corroding. Schrock, it looks like the side of the dorms at Cornerstone. That's like what all the buildings look like at CU. With like this corroding brick behind us, and then just like one big, looking clock tower in the middle of campus. It was a special place, man. They also had a pond there, which was really cool looking. Really cool looking pond in the middle of campus. Whatever, like it had like these colorful fountains, but you couldn't go swim or like even come near the water because apparently once upon a time BP had like an oil spill that went directly into the pond. And so now apparently all the fish have like 3 eyeballs and it's like radioactive. So don't go in the pond. I don't know if they wanted me to tell you that, but don't. If you ever find yourself at Cornerstone University, don't go in the pond.
He says, no, hate to see it. Ha ha ha. Yes. So he's loving what you just said. I had no idea what you just said. I just searched up the dorms and they look pretty shitty. So
yeah, yep, a lot of brick. They were built back in the 50s or whatever the hell it was.
Is Cornerstone basketball pretty bad then? If they built all these brick apartments and buildings.
A lot of bricks. A lot of bricks this year. Yeah,
brick houses?
They were laying bricks.
Gotcha.
Yep, exactly. But no, I mean it's to just briefly touch on what J.J. Watt said. Winning the World Cup is a fantasy. However,
No, it's not.
making a run and impressing is not a fantasy. I think that's very much a reality. But winning the World Cup for the U.S. men's national team is not going to happen in 2026. And I'm just saying.
You
and
like the
I
underdogs.
think it's hard.
We're an underdog.
I do. But I'm going the opposite way today. And it's not because I don't want to see these players succeed. It's not because I don't believe that we are building to a point again as a soccer playing country to where we're going to force the rest of the world to respect us here at some point. It's going to happen. But it's going to be a little eye-opening to the people who, and even myself, I wouldn't, include myself in the conversation of someone who's been watching the sport his whole life, but really paying attention the last couple of years and again, following along with this team, it's just going to be eye-opening to American fans just how much of a disadvantage we're at in the soccer space versus any other sport there is that we compete in on the international
They know that
level.
though.
I think some do, but I think a lot of them don't, because I don't think J.J. Watt really pays attention. Now, maybe he does, and
He pays
maybe
attention
I'm
to the
wrong, and
Prem.
maybe this is just an assumption. Maybe he does, yeah.
Well, he's
But-
a minority
and
owner
maybe
of
this
the Premier
is-
League side. I'd hope he paid attention.
It is true. It is true, and maybe this is just a PR thing for it. Maybe he realizes that he's going to get people. He's doing the thing that gets the reaction out of people that he wants. But I think it's a fantasy to even think that the U.S. men's national team could even potentially win the World Cup here this year. But can they make a run? Can they impress? Can they do all the things that we've talked about in terms of inspiring a generation of young Americans to become more involved in the sport? Absolutely. That is something that's very realistic. And I've even seen the residual from the U.S. women's national team winning in hockey. They've already seen a spike in youth participation. And, Paul Bissonnette the other day, obviously he's, biz nasty. He's a Canadian through and through. He even talked about how important it was for the country and for the game. The same thing with soccer. And I think it could result that way either way, regardless of whether or not they do well or not. But making a run would certainly go a long way to inspire Americans. But the thought of winning the World Cup, I think it's going to set you up more for disappointment if you're an American fan than anything else. It's just not something we should be expecting.
Nate, you do realize that your two oh, by the way, Schrock says it looks cool, by the way. He says the old brick look
dope.
is cool though. So he didn't want to say it's cool. But I will say this, Nate.
Thanks, Rocky.
Nate, I'm gonna help persuade you a little bit to maybe give the U.S. men's national team a little bit more love. You do realize that your two favorite sports teams of all time, that is not in three actually, outside of Michigan football, we'll take Michigan football out of the picture. Your three favorite teams of all time were all massive underdogs in everything. The 1980 Miracle. We got Indiana football, and then we got the Cubs. None of them have ever won anything up to the point where they won something. So I'm just saying, you can't be out here saying it's a fantasy when your three favorite teams of all time never won anything until they won something. So I'm just saying.
Fantasies can turn into realities. I'm not saying they can't turn into realities. Doesn't mean I'm going to be hopeful about it. Are you over here waving the pom-poms about Arsenal winning it all? No, I don't think so. In fact, I don't think you even
March
want to talk
22nd
about
will
it.
tell
I
me
think-
if we're winning the league or not. I'll tell you. March
I think
22nd.
even mentioning it makes
No,
you squirm a
because-
little bit in your chair.
No, because the hope is creeping in, Nate. I don't like it. Like, I'm really starting to
it does.
believe this thing, and I don't like it.
And that's the thing, is the closer we get to the World Cup, the hope is going to start to seep in a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to
No,
start to think about what if.
Again, I agree with you. I was just letting you know that your three favorite teams
I
of all
know.
time were all
I know, I'm
underdogs.
just
No,
messing with you.
you're right. It is a fantasy. We've said it time and time again. Everyone knows it. Like, I wouldn't say we're at like a massive disadvantage, because I don't think we're still going to play France or Spain when it comes into the World Cup. But I will say this. I think that our floor is starting to rise. I think our ceiling is starting to rise at the same time. And I think the gap from, us to the best of the world is starting to, again, it's not like a massive, close gap, but it's starting to get closer. And And
Yeah.
that all has to do with, our development, the players that are the type of players that we have playing in certain squads, and it's only going to get better. I mean, look, we're going to have youth participation spike regardless of what the U.S. men's national team does at the World Cup, because
Yeah.
what's going to happen with it's in our backyard and we're seeing the best of the best. It's going to spike regardless of how well we do at the tournament. Now, if we do well in the tournament,
Yeah.
it's going to be even better. The tournament's going to be even better when the host nation, JP Dellacamera said that himself, when the host nation goes far, the tournament does well, because who doesn't have to fly across the world to go see their team play and spend thousands of dollars in hotels and flights? Well, the host country can.
Yeah.
But no, it's going to be to say that we're going to win the World Cup. I would maybe wonder, what you're taking at that specific moment in time. Wonder what you're smoking, because I'll have it.
Yeah.
Because for someone to, talk like that, I mean, it's got to be something good, right? But no, it is still a fantasy. Does JJ Watt, do I really take into account what this guy says? No, not only did he quit at CMU, but he's a football player. He doesn't actually play soccer. So
Quit.
Well, yeah, he left the
Went to
team
a
to
better
go be a
football
walk-on.
program.
So,
It did pretty damn well.
but I'm just saying, he did quit. You can't question if he quit. He took a full scholarship, quit to go maybe be a full-time scholarship player in Wisconsin. I'm not
Take
saying
some balls, man.
I'm not saying he was bad or anything. I mean, he worked at a pizza joint in Madison and was like, his coworker's like, you ain't gonna be anything. And he's like, watch it. So it's like, no, he 100% quit. But if I look at the World Cup, I've said the same thing, and I'll harp on the same thing. Barring injuries, the goal is a quarterfinal, and that's the goal. That's the goal. Get to a quarterfinal, make a little bit of a run. You don't have to win the thing. You don't even have to get to a semifinal. Don't have to get to a final. Get to a quarterfinal, happy. It's almost like the Lions a couple years ago. Win a playoff game, I'm happy. They did that, and then they decided to break my heart and decided to choke in the third quarter and the fourth quarter to lose the NFC Championship game, which I swear to God, if that happens with this team, they get to a semifinal, and we're up like 2-0 and we lose 3-2. Oh, my goodness. But no, get to a quarterfinal. Expectations are not massively high for this team, but get to a quarterfinal, and I still think you're going to, and if you get to a quarterfinal, lose to again, I got to do the math again and do the bracket, but you lose to a Spain, you play them hard, that's still going to, get the nation wrapped around you and be like, you know what, this team is headed in the right direction.
You also mentioned that he talked about VAR a little bit,
Oh.
and how it has gone too far. Obviously, that was another part of that conversation. It was a pretty long conversation there, Men in Blazers. Really good talk if you get the chance to go watch it. But he had talked about VAR and how it was kind of going too far. How if you can't figure it out in 30 seconds, that you just have to go with the call on the field. What is it? Is that what he said specifically, or what was his angle on that?
Yeah, he just talked about VAR and was like, well, it kind of goes to all sports, because if you really slow a review down, look, anything in slow motion is 10 times worse than what actually happened on the field. Like, oh my gosh, you went that way? Look, if you need like 3 different opinions to overturn a call, or like, come on, guys. Like, it's...
Yeah.
I don't know.
It
At
almost
that point,
makes
it's not sport. At that point, it's just not sport. I get we want to overturn, like, the point of VAR is to overturn, like, the calls that, like, we know are wrong. It's not to, well, is his elbow offside a little bit there? Is his elbow off by just a centimeter right there? We got to break it down the line. That's not sport, man. Like, that's just being nitpicky about something. That's not sport.
Yeah.
Just if it takes longer than 30 seconds, I would agree with him. I think if it takes longer than a minute to figure out a call, whether, like, how many times do we got to spend 3 minutes on a review about the ball? Like, the rotation of the ball will tell you exactly who the ball hit off of. I get it. You might have to adjust the clock. I get that part.
Yeah.
But when it comes to soccer, if we're really dissecting it to the last brain cell of, like, the last cell of, like, is his knee offside? Is his nose offside? Like, who cares at that point? Like, if you have to break down to, like, the last millicentimeter, or millimeter, I should say. Millicentimeter is not even a real measure of unit of measurement.
Centimeter.
Millimeter. I mean, what are we doing here? Like, we don't need the referee to go over there to make the call. The VAR tells you everything. If we get past a minute, call goes onto the field. If there's a couple of instances, because I've seen a couple times where it's like, we want to review 2 or 3 things in the call, that's fine. That can take longer than a minute, but it shouldn't take more than 3 minutes because each thing should be given 1 minute. And I like the way J.J. Watt said, because the same thing when it comes to football. It's like football, basketball, if the review takes so long, like, it's clear and obvious. That's what the review is there for, is to overturn clear and obvious calls. There are missed calls. That's what it's there for. It's not to, let's hang out. Let's talk about this. Oh, this. No, it's stupid. No longer than a minute. Call it on the field.
Yeah, and everything is reviewed now. I think the point is that we're just trying to get to a point now to where we're trying to remove mistakes, any sort of mistake whatsoever by refs or umpires. We're just trying to automate all of that so that it's perfect. The reality is that you're never going to get to perfect. I think the chaos is actually a key part of the experience. It's part of what it is. It's part of sports. And so obviously you want to make sure you get the call correct, but you're right. It gets ridiculous when it's reviewing everything, when it's just becoming too much. And we see that time in and time out. And it can really flip things on its head too, in multiple opinions. So no, he's 100% correct. It is just, it's gone a little bit too far. And when you are trying to, and we see this in the baseball space all the time, if all you're trying to do is just remove any sort of human error whatsoever from the game, you absolutely kill the pace of play. You absolutely kill the flow of the game. And that's the thing that I think is not only infuriating for fans, yes, but I think even more so, it's infuriating for the players themselves too. Because even if there's a call that goes against us, whatever it is, however small it may be, whoever's hand it went off of, okay, now you have to call your guys aside. Now you have to huddle up and stand around and look around and and we're having this conversation. And finally the call is made minutes later because they're slowing it down time after time. That can also affect a team as well. And so the pace of play is not only being dragged down, but also it's affecting teams and players. And that's the thing that is really for a viewer can be the biggest turnoff, because we're just trying to, again, remove any sort of human error. Like, I even think about this from the perspective, like the ABS system in baseball. Yeah. Is it cool? Sure. Yeah. Does it take away the need to frame? And are we going to have a better understanding of what's a ball and what's a strike?
Catcher's framing absolutely is so annoying to me, man. Like, I know that's a ball. Stop trying to make it a strike.
It's a part of the game, though. Some of them are so good at it. Like I think of man, who's Molina, Yadier Molina, just the best. But anyways, but you try to remove any sort of human error from the game, it's going to become robotic. Not only is it going to become robotic, it's going to become slow. And so I think it's unique that, obviously soccer doesn't need any help when it comes to the flow of the game. I think that's one of the things that makes it beautiful, right? Like, you put, 45 up, you run it until the end. Maybe you get some added time, and then you put 45 up in the second half and you run it, but soccer already naturally has so many little pauses in the game. Why are we adding more and longer pauses by, you're right, to your point, like reviewing every single last little thing possible and then making these massive decisions on it? You're right. Yeah. And if the tip of someone's nose is offsides, really, like that's what's going to,
that's what I'm saying. That's
what's going to decide a game. Someone's nose is going to decide it. I don't know. So I think it's a little overkill for sure. Like in big time calls, big time situations, it's like, we have to get this right. Obviously you do everything you can to go to every angle you can, but is it everything that needs to be reviewed? Probably not.
Yeah, I'd agree.
So, but yeah, I mean, he makes a good point on that. But I mean, even in the NFL, it's the same thing. And I'm sure JJ's probably grown frustrated with that side of it too, like just how frequent reviews are for everything.
Every time you hit the quarterback, it's a foul or it's a unnecessary roughness. Bro, come on, bro. He just tackled him.
Yeah, that's it's almost as if it's their job,
Yeah, but we can't tackle him that way. But we can tackle him this way. Like, I get it. If they're targeting, that's fine. But like, dude, what's a 300-pound guy supposed to do when you land on a quarterback? What, he's supposed to drop him midway and like roll over? They can't do it that fast.
Yeah, and that's why so much of that just happens. It happens so fast, but and we've seen that in the NFL too, especially with targeting and stuff. I don't know. It's slowed the game down. I know some of it's good, but yeah, it's technology is a good thing, but I feel like if it becomes too much, which we've seen this, I feel like there's a new VAR conflict or VAR conspiracy like every other week. So it's certainly becoming a little odd there, maybe becoming a little much. But coming up next, our all sports content. Let's get into a little bit about what the Wings can do at the trade deadline. Also, Jason Tatum is coming back. He's been working out with the Boston Celtics G League team. He's fully healthy. He's going to be back with the Celtics. Right now, they're second in the East. Does this automatically make them the favorite in the East now that Jason Tatum is coming back? Averaged over 28 last year. Obviously, hurt in the playoffs. Everybody got hurt in the playoffs, but he will be back. Does that make them the favorite now? We'll talk about that on the other side coming up here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind.
Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics.
Letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail.
Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play,
NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate.
Call 586-304-4405
and start watching today.
Back in live here on Inside the Game, rolling along here in hour number 2, our all sports content here on NSN and the Premier Media Group. It is trade deadline day here in the National Hockey League, trying to figure out whether Steve Yzerman is going to make a move. There was a feeling that he would make a move at this trade deadline, and last year was something that I feel like there were a lot of players on that team that thought that they missed out on an opportunity to capitalize at the deadline. But now the deadline is here, time of the year that obviously puts pressure on general managers across the league as they make their push toward the playoffs. And obviously the Wings are in a prime position to do so. We're on a path right now. We're just 500 hockey. The rest of the way will get them to 97 points. So that's all they have to be. It's just 500 the rest of the way. Now, obviously the goal is to be better than that. But the position to be a buyer here for Steve Yzerman at the deadline. So obviously, we'll try to give you guys updates on that. We'll talk about it coming up on Monday if they do make a move. But, they've already made a couple of moves already. They got David Perron. But, there's
That's
not
a real
really a
winner.
lot of trade. Not really. But Yzerman's trade history is interesting.
Bad?
And
Just
so
say bad.
it's not made. Yeah, not bad. Not great.
Just say bad.
So
It's bad.
I guess I'm curious as to who they're going to go and maybe go after.
I have no idea who they go after. All I'll tell you is this, Stevie, you better do something. Like, I'm sick and tired of this team not making. Look at, I have seen in the last couple of years the Lions make the playoffs. Never thought I'd see that in a while. I've seen the Pistons win a couple games in the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff series since 2008. That was the last time they won a playoff game. Lions didn't win a playoff game for like 30 years. I saw the Tigers, who had like a 2.2% chance of making the playoffs. They made the playoffs. Look, Stevie, it's like year 8 or something. I don't care what year it is anymore. You've been there long enough. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about the kids this, the kids that, the kids this. We haven't been to the playoffs yet. We've got a captain that's been here since like 2016. He hasn't sniffed the playoffs. He just won a gold medal. He now knows what winning's like. And we're going to sit there and with our hand in our pants, and it's like, yeah, we're, maybe we do something. I'm so sick and tired of the kids, man. Maybe we offload and the one time you offload one of them, like the one trade you made, you traded away a pick to give up a Wallman, and he becomes a stud. So thanks, Stevie. So the one trade you do make, it's bad for us. All I'll say is this, Stevie. Go make a move that helps this team make the playoffs. Larkin's been vocal about it last year. Lucas Raymond yesterday was just vocal about it, how this team needs to strengthen. This team needs to be strengthened. Again, I don't expect the Stanley Cup. I don't need you to go out there and go get Connor McDavid. I don't need you to go get Jack Hughes. I never said that. Just go out there, help this team become better. Maybe you get a Trocheck. I know he wasn't in the roster yesterday for the Rangers or whatever team he's on. But you know what? Just go out there, make a move, strengthen this team, help this team get over the finish line and make the playoffs. I'm so sick and tired of these GMs in this town doing absolutely nothing. Shout out you, Trajan Langdon, because now Asara's hurt and we don't got nobody. So appreciate you, Trajan.
Yep, just a part of and it's true. I think they're close pocketed, and I think for Yzerman and for Stevie Y, and to see the Stevie Y plan actually work out to fruition, he just has to go out and get somebody. You talked about Trocheck. Obviously, I would say he's on the lower end in terms of trade assets that the Red Wings could get. But the truth is that even lower end is fine. At least you're adding something. Like, just add anything to your.
We need a right D.
Is exactly what it is. So, I mean, there's a few different targets. There's a short list. Obviously, Perron doesn't really make a difference for the Wings, but talking about, I think Blake Coleman of the Calgary Flames would be a great piece. Obviously, a 2-time Cup winner. I think he could be someone that could certainly help out. Justin Falk of the St. Louis Blues. They need more pressing. He's on the blue line. It would be negligent on the part of Yzerman not add someone who's capable of playing, top 4 minutes, because obviously they just need more bodies, and he's someone that could certainly be exactly that. Does turn 34 this month, but I mean, he would certainly help out Detroit's blue line in a much needed dependability in big moments. Again, just adding more depth to this team. And I think that's the important part, Ryan, is they need more bodies. They need more quality veteran depth. And it's just going to help them out, because the biggest problem with, and even remembering when the Wings were good when I was younger and they were making runs, the problem is they just got so beat up. Like, they just had injury issues going into the postseason. And so the playoffs in itself is essentially a second season. And so if you don't have a certain level of depth to your team to where you can, go out and physically be able to make it through, it's going to be a hard thing to do. And obviously Vincent Trocheck, the other one, you talked about not on the high end of the rental market, but NHL players with 100+ goals and 800+ hits over the last 5 seasons: Brady Tkachuk, Tom Wilson, JT Miller, and Trocheck. And so physically he establishes himself. Obviously he's a good goal scorer with, 100+ goals in that stretch of time. So I don't, maybe not on the high end. He's not Sidney Crosby or Connor McDavid, but he's certainly someone who can at the very least, change the dynamic and the makeup and the outlook of this team and just help out the key players that we already have. So that's kind of my short list. If I'm looking at, 4 different players, or 3 different players rather, that could be great targets for the Red Wings. I don't think anyone's asking for, go out and get a Hall of Famer, but just add something more to this roster to help this team really feel confident going into the playoffs, because that's the biggest thing. That's, and especially after a disappointing result here recently. Now I think the attitude around the deadline becomes even more serious for Wings fans. It's time to strike while the iron's hot if you're Stevie Y.
Yeah, but is Bro going to do it? Probably not, because his prospects and his draft picks are so... Dude, who cares about the money? All them.
Yeah.
Just go make... Yeah. If we don't have a first-round pick...
Who said F them picks? Who was... whose quote was that? F them picks.
I have no idea, but the Rams are sure doing it. The LA Rams. All I'll say is this, man. Like,
yeah.
If we don't have a first-round pick, it's not the end of the world. The franchise, we've had multiple years with multiple first-round picks, and sometimes Joe Veleno, Philip Zadina, they were good. So just please, just go make a move. Make a move. I'm so sick and tired of these GMs, man. Kyle Finnegan might be like the greatest trade deadline asset in the last 10 years for any Detroit sports team, or Dennis Schroeder, one of the two.
Yeah. Getting into our final topic here. Jason Tatum on his way back here to join the Boston Celtics. I know we've been talking about Pistons a lot. Didn't really go out and get anybody at the trade deadline. Obviously,
Shocker.
still first in the East. I feel like that's another natural transition on our show today. The Pistons not making a move at the deadline, but Jason Tatum is going to be back for Boston here ahead of the playoffs. He's been working out with the G League team. Now he's going to be back up with Boston, over 28 points and 8.7 boards per game last year. Ryan, simply put, I think it that automatically, if Tatum is able to play at the level that he wants to play, which who knows, he is coming back off of an injury. He hasn't been playing in any NBA games this year, so it might take him a second to get back into form. I think that automatically makes Boston the favorite in the East. And I hate saying that, but
you're
I
right.
think it certainly changes everything.
There is nothing that, again, if he were to come back in, let's say, April, like if he didn't have all this time, yeah, I could maybe say that I'd still maybe lean the Pistons. But Tatum, this is March 6th. He's going to have plenty of time to get back to his full speed, his full strength, full everything of Jason Tatum. But there is nothing that this Pistons franchise and this Pistons team that has shown me they can dethrone a Jason Tatum-led Boston Celtics team in the playoffs. Nothing's been shown.
Not
they
in a
haven't gotten there
4-game
yet.
series.
And,
Not in a 7-game series.
And you know what's still crazy to me is the Celtics are still 5 games behind us for the number 1 seed without Tatum. So Jaylen Brown still a stud. Derek White still there. They acquired Vucevic at the deadline, who for some reason always plays well against the Pistons, and he could be a force to lock down Jalen Duren. Just saying. I'm not saying he's like this insane player, but there's pieces that the Celtics have that I would love for the Pistons to have. I would love to have a second option go-to scorer. We don't have that. All we have is lobs to Duren. It's all centered around Cade, and if you lock down Cade, the Pistons are just going to falter. That's what it's going to be. There's nothing that shows that this Pistons team is the favorite over the Celtics. I think with the return of Tatum, and if you were to go strength to strength, everyone's healthy, Celtics, Pistons, I'm still taking the Celtics in 6. That's what I am. I'm still taking the Celtics in 6. I think they're overall better team. I think they're more equipped to make a deeper run, and they're more equipped to win an NBA Finals.
Yeah.
It's not a knock at the Pistons, but the Pistons haven't shown anything, and there's nothing in their game that's like, you know what, they might beat the Celtics. They're a tough physical team, but you know what? Boston's a tough physical team. They just don't fight people every 2 seconds. It's the only difference. Like, I love the Pistons. I love Cade, but there's nothing that shows that they're going to overtake the Celtics. There's nothing.
Yeah, I remember last year going into the postseason being like, Boston is my favorite simply because it felt like they have half of Team USA on their team, which they did, and they do again this year.
Derek White, Tatum. Brown was left off. I thought he should have been on it, but
yeah, but either way, I mean, they are they're deep, and you're right. To that point, look at what they've done. Look at the body of work that they've done even without Tatum. They're still second in the East without arguably the best player in the league. So what does that say about when you insert Jason Tatum back into it? Yeah, it completely changes everything. My issue is, and this is why, again, we talked about how the Pistons really needed to add one more guy and one more shooter, one more player like an MPJ that, you know, can go out and create their own points, is the depth conversation. We don't, from a sheer depth perspective, you know, much like I think, you know, I looked at New York. I thought they were a deeper team last year. Obviously, we beat them, but Boston's not New York. Indiana, I think, was a deeper team than what we were. But again, Boston is not Indiana. Boston's on a different level. And so if they were able to fight their way out to second place in the East without Jason Tatum, yeah, the minute you put him back into that conversation, the entire complexion of this talk changes. I'm just wondering, you know, is he going to get back to where he needs to be in terms of confidence and his rhythm and his momentum and his flow before this playoffs is set to begin? If he is, then yeah, I think everybody's in trouble. I think automatically that changes the conversation. But, you know, you never know. You really never know when players come back, especially off of injuries like that. How exactly are they going to look? You know, it's crazy to me also that we didn't see Tyrese Halliburton at all this year because of his Achilles injury. And it just felt like half the playoff field last year just got hurt like a couple of games into it. It was crazy. But you never really know. You never really know how a player is going to look coming off of injuries. But again, if through 70 games last year what he did is any indication, yeah, it's what the Pistons need in order to win that series is what the going to work Pistons did against Kobe and Shaq once upon a time. They just need to have a generational defensive performance through the 4 games that they win. If they win 4 games in that 7-game series, if they ever meet up with Boston, because I just don't think anybody in the East, or really we'll even go outside of that, anybody in the NBA wants to get into a shootout with a team like Boston, because you're just simply you're not going to win it. And so that has to be the attack. That has to be the mentality. But again, I just don't know if we have the horses to be able to do it if it ends up coming down to the postseason.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I would say I would take us over the Knicks. I mean, based on what happened last year, I think we're fine. But again, last year we did win the regular season record with the Knicks, and then we lose in the playoffs in 6. So that doesn't indicate anything this year. It never does.
Yeah.
I look at the Cavs. The Cavs always falter in the playoffs, but you know what? Why the Cavs always falter in the playoffs? They had JB Bickerstaff for a handful of those years, and guess who's our head coach? JB Bickerstaff. I love JB, but sometimes it's like, don't crash out on us. Please don't get attacked. But that's something that I think that could be the demise of the Pistons as well, is technical fouls and fighting, because you lose a guy like Beef Stew, or you lose a guy like a Ron Holland, or maybe even a Jalen Duren, for crying out loud, for just a couple games in a series. That could be the difference between winning that series and going home. That's massive. Like if we lost Jalen Duren after the Hornets fight, I think he was out 2 games or something. We don't have Jalen Duren for 2 games. We could be down. We could lose both of those games because we don't have Jalen Duren. He's so good defensively inside, and offensively, how many offensive rebounds he gets? He's a lob option for Cade driving down the lane. So there's also this like sense of maturity that the Pistons need to mature a little bit heading into the playoffs. And the Cavs, I mean, James Harden, but he never does anything in the playoffs. I still would say the Pistons are number 2 in terms of winning the East, just because of what they've been doing to the Knicks this year, and the Cavs have never proven anything come playoff time. But if I'm looking at a fully healthy Boston's going to take care of us. I think Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, again, Tatum could come back and not be himself, but I think Tatum's too good of a player. I think Boston's is too smart of a franchise to not have Tatum come back fine. I know it's an Achilles injury. Maybe he loses some explosiveness for a little bit, but there's still so much time between now and the playoffs. And when the Pistons would play the Celtics, it'd be the Eastern Conference Finals most likely. I would think that it'd be the Eastern Conference Finals unless, some crazy thing happens. But no, I just still think the Pistons needed to add something at the deadline. And I still look back at an MPJ. Again, he's not some LeBron James player, but you know what MPJ has? He's got playoff experience. He's been to an NBA Finals. He's won an NBA Finals, for crying out loud. And he scores at a really high clip. I get it. It's Brooklyn. They're not great. But that scoring translates everywhere. He did it he was like the 3rd option on the Nuggets and still put up numbers. His first option on the Nets still puts up numbers. So what makes you think that he wouldn't put up numbers for the Pistons? Karis LeVert's going to take his numbers? Duncan Robinson's going to take his numbers? Asar Thompson's going to take his offensive stats? No. You should have added an MPJ because all they wanted was a first-round pick, maybe 2. And in the NBA, none of that means anything. First-rounders in the NBA, if you're good, mean jack squat. They mean nothing. Why? Because you're picking in like 25 into 30. That doesn't mean anything. Yeah, there's a couple outliers every now and again. But when you're an NBA franchise like that, and you already have your franchise guy and your franchise couple of guys, you're just looking for those filler players. And you could just find that in free agency and sign guys to league minimums. Just makes no sense sometimes.
Veteran depth pieces, man. It's the same conversation we're having with the Red Wings. It's the same exact talk. Now, obviously, it's a little bit different in basketball terms, but it's the same exact thing. And that's the other part. Like, putting the skill set and the talent level aside, just the experience that a lot of these Celtics players have. We talked about the Team USA experience of winning the gold medal. We talked about winning an NBA championship. All of that going up against a group of younger players for the Pistons who, they had the experience last year of playing in the Garden in the postseason and, in these other places. But is that year of experience going to be enough to really help get them over the top? Or are they going to slip up and, again, make mistakes, make emotional decisions? Because I love to see the fight, but again, only if it doesn't take away from what you're trying to do as a team. And I just think the thing about Boston is like, yeah, they have youth and they have talent, but they also have experience in being there and winning it, whether it be an NBA championship or whether it be a gold medal. So I don't know, man, but never count the Pistons out of winning a series they're not supposed to win. It's happened before. It'll probably happen again here at some point. Again, I'm not cheering against them. I like
we haven't won a playoff series since 2008. It's been 18 years. I don't think we can say that yet. If this group of Pistons, yes, but the previous Pistons, yes, we can say that. But this group of Pistons is 2-4 in the playoffs right now. They haven't won. This franchise has not won a playoff series since 2008. There is nothing that shows me and tells me that they can go and win multiple playoff series. There's nothing to show for it. And maybe that's lazy, but that's
at
also
least
facts.
At least one, I would hope, with being the number one team in the East. But yeah, I mean, outside of that, who knows? I mean, I think it gets messy past that point. But let's get into question of the day here today on episode 244.
Question of the day. This is exactly what the FIFA World Cup should be doing. How they should do it for their halftime or for their hydration breaks. Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off. Scan the QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day. If there was a Big Four sport pro team in America that you would want relegated, who would it be?
That's a funny question. You know what? I think the Browns. I think it would be fun to see either the Browns or the Jets go to like play in the XFL or something. So they.
I thought you were going to say a team you didn't like.
I don't like the Browns. I don't like an Ohio team.
I thought you were going to say the Dodgers just because it's the Dodgers.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be right though, right? Because the Dodgers. I'm thinking of teams that suck that I also don't like. And so, that'd probably be them. Yeah, the Dodgers would be funny. Maybe it'd just be funny to see like the Rockies play in AAA. But I think football is probably the most ridiculous because there's not really a second level. Like, unless you want to call like the XFL the second level, which that would just be funny to see the Browns go from being in the NFL to playing against XFL teams and trying to fight their way back, be promoted into the NFL again. Yeah, probably. I don't know. The Lakers. Who would you want?
Any team LeBron's on? No. Again, they're really starting to piss me off, but it's the San Antonio Spurs, man. They flop around like it's a damn soccer game. Wembanyama is like 10 feet tall, and he flops like a soccer player. This guy pisses me off. This guy's an unbelievable talent. He's a unicorn, but we get touched by Cade, and we're just going to flail our arms everywhere and fall to the floor? What are you doing? You are 7'5".
Yeah.
We're flopping to the floor here, Wemby? And this whole notion after the Olympics, the whole world, the NBA and the whole world has to watch out for me. No, we don't, because you flop every time you get breathed on. We don't have to watch out for you, Wemby. You're an unbelievable talent, but you flop all over the place. You get touched, and it's ball goes flying up in the air. We end up on the ground, dude. You're 7'5". You're not getting that. You're not getting that, dude. Like, if I'm a referee and I see you, there's got to be a lot of contact for you to go down. But for you to just get a little arm bar for Cade. Cade's a big dude. He's strong, but he ain't that strong to knock you off. Maybe hit the weight room a little bit, Wemby. But the Spurs really just pissed me off, man. Like, it's not just Wemby. Everyone is flopping. Like, in the Pistons game yesterday, like, this whole team just pisses me off. Like, Shea, he annoys me. But at the same time, the Thunder actually have some good players that I like, but there ain't nothing about the Spurs that I like, dude. They're so annoying. They flop all the time. They just piss me off, and they've been good for like 40 years, it feels like. So, no, they just piss me off. Get rid of them.
I swear the flopping thing must be a European thing that like influenced the American game. That must
outside
be
of
where
LeBron
it started.
James, but it is.
Like, yeah, I mean, like that's and how like some of these referees don't see it is just beyond me. Like, why you have to lean on your whistle like that. But no, I mean, he has to realize, I mean, if you're going to be that freaking big, like, it should be that he doesn't get special or preferential treatment. But no, I saw the slow down replay of the exact foul in which you're talking about. And it's just, yeah, I mean, it has turned into, it is soccer in a lot of ways. And so that's why I think it's hypocritical for people who are like, oh, soccer's soft. can't watch
basketball's
soccer.
turning into it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're in soccer, they lay on the ground and they, blah, blah. It's like, okay, maybe in basketball, because I have seen in soccer before, like, especially in college soccer, like they bring the stretcher out and then you see the kid go back into the game like 20 minutes later. It's like, okay, like that's a little bit too much. However,
like soccer, I expect it. Like it doesn't annoy me just because it's a part of the game, and I understand. Like, I flopped in basketball, but the thing that annoys me is these freight trains that are LeBron James flopping all over the place, or he gets poked in the eye, or Anthony Davis breaks a fingernail. It's like, guys, no wonder everyone makes fun of you. No wonder this league is like,
AD deserves every single ounce of criticism that you can give Anthony Davis. He deserves it.
No wonder Americans are like steering away from this league. Like the viewers are insane for the NBA because it's a lot of international. But the as my friends and like family friends or like people I know, Nate, you might be like the only one that I know that like watches the NBA like consistently, outside of a couple others. But like it's a very small amount of people that actually like watch the NBA consistently because everyone's just pissed off by it. It's just so soft, man. It's just annoying.
A broken nail. I mean, hell, like Jack Hughes is missing a tooth and a half.
Exactly.
But God forbid your broken nail keeps you out of the game. Yeah, that's the National Basketball Association for you. But that'll wrap up our show here on episode 244. Yeah, we appreciate you guys stopping by every week as always. It's been a long week, but it's been a fun week here on NSN. Again, we got Major League Indoor Soccer action all weekend. Tanner White will be calling some of those games. We'll touch base with him coming up next week. Check us out on social media. We got our World Cup moments as we continue to build to the 2026 World Cup. Ryan's been doing a great job with that. And again, make sure you just keep it locked. We will give you everything you need coming up for the World Cup. Also, some quick house cleaning work. Next week, I will not be on the show Monday or Tuesday. Ryan will have a new co-host for those two shows. So I'm sure we'll make an introduction or an announcement here pretty soon on who's going to be joining those shows with you. But just letting you guys know. So when we come back next week, won't be on, but starting Wednesday, I'll be back with you guys as we get, again, ready for the biggest tournament here in the U.S. But until we talk to you guys next week, my name's Nate Wangler. That's Ryan Glinsky. You've been watching Inside the Game.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wangler bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.